What's going on? All right, so this your boy Tam. So here we go again. Now you have celebrities joining in on the latest conspiracy pertaining to Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. You know, these past 2 months have just been ridiculous. By the way, happy 36th birthday to Bud. Bud turns 36 today. My birthday is tomorrow, so But nevertheless, man, I have to say, from my own personal opinion, my own perspective, just what I've seen transpire over the past 5 years leading up to the fight and to the fight actually happening and the aftermath of the fight. I have to admit, as a black man, I'm very embarrassed and I'm very disappointed in basically how Terrence Crawford has been treated. And like I said before, the excuses I hear why people don't care for Terrence Crawford is just to a certain degree where you just have to just say it's just total BS. For the same reasons people claim to not care for Terrence Crawford, they continue to give the Charlo brothers a pass for being even worse. Now, there have been times where Bud has been a little standoffish with the media, but at this point, I have to say Terrence Crawford is completely justified. At the end of the day, I thought this was going to be about may the best man win, but obviously this has been about the wrong man winning in a lot of people's eyes, and that was Terrence Crawford being the wrong guy to win this fight. You had a lot of people say they just want to see the fight, and may the best man win. But ever since Terrence Crawford has came out victorious in a dominant victory over Errol Spence. By the way, I didn't have Spence winning one round. I know people trying to say, well, he might have won certain parts of this round and certain parts of that round. That man got thoroughly dominated. He got beat the hell up, and that's just the bottom line. But to see all these conspiracy videos since the fight has happened, from Bud being accused of everything from, illegal hand wraps to stacking his gloves and all this kind of stuff, and talk about, did you see how Bud's gloves was flapping and all this kind of stuff? And we clearly saw a video, which I feel like Derek James had no right to do, because shouldn't he have been in the room when Bud was wrapping his hands and examining Terrence Crawford's gloves? But he attempted to basically check Terrence Crawford's gloves, and he didn't find nothing in Terrence Crawford's gloves. But since then, you've been hearing all these conspiracy theories from these pathetic Errol Spence fanboys. At the end of the day, they then came up with all these conspiracies and conspiracy stories, about why, Errol Spence got beat up the way he did. It was just that Terrence Crawford was the better man. And that's it, and that's all, and people just can't accept it. And these people were just being fake from the whole start of this whole, talk to get this fight going. The whole discussion, it was fraudulent. But now you got Michael Jai White. Rest in peace to the great Michael Clark Duncan, aka John Coffey. There's a couple of John Coffey wannabes out here too. But yeah. But nevertheless, man, I think it's just really sad. So now he's been talking about his latest inside information about, well, he heard a month going into the fight, Errol Spence wasn't right, and he was damaged goods and all this kind of stuff. And when have you seen Terrence Crawford ever be that dominant? Terrence Crawford has always like been dominant in his fights. He dominates down the stretch. He's dominated a lot of people. My thing is, when have you seen Errol Spence really thoroughly dominate somebody, except for Danny Garcia, which that looked like a sparring match? Keep in mind, a lot of people thought Errol Spence was losing the Kell Brook fight into the stoppage. Then let's talk about the Shawn Porter fight. The Shawn Porter fight was life and death for Errol Spence. If Errol Spence don't drop Shawn Porter, Errol Spence probably loses that fight. Then he struggled with Ugas. Almost got knocked out in that fight. We keep talking about when have you seen Terrence Crawford do this or not be able to do this, but I'm just saying, what fights have Errol Spence really dominated? I mean, as far as Chris Algieri goes, Chris Algieri ain't a big puncher. But all I've seen so far is people try to take away credit from Terrence Crawford, and then Errol Spence conspirators, they just make up something every week. It's something new. And some of these I know, and then some of them I don't know. Because it was so funny, after the Ugas fight, and Ugas had that, that this detached eye, and everybody was talking about, oh man, Terrence Crawford ain't got a chance. And I just seen people talking that, getting texts talking about, oh, Terrence Crawford ain't gonna be able to handle that. Oh, he's toasted, all that kind of stuff. Then as soon as the fight come and goes and Errol Spence get the brakes beat off of him, then all of a sudden it's excuses made. And one thing about me, I jot down stuff and I remember stuff. And then people tried to change their tune. Then it came down to the new excuse or the latest excuse. Oh, well, Errol Spence, he couldn't make the weight and all this kind of stuff. And Terrence Crawford, is not fair that Terrence Crawford making him come down to 147. Well, wait a minute. Wasn't you campaigning at 147? I mean, when Errol Spence had all those belts that he was dangling over Terrence Crawford's head, which prevented this fight from happening for years. Nobody wasn't worried about the weight, but I already knew this was going to happen. I already knew that a gang of excuses was going to come if Terrence Crawford won that fight. And this is what you're seeing. And it gets frustrated because you can't get people to just admit that Terrence Crawford was the better man tonight instead of just, coming up with all these conspiracies. And then maybe the reason why Terrence Crawford was so dominant at Errol Spence, because Errol Spence once again was accustomed to fighting, a lot of those inside fights, fighting people within the PBC stable. And maybe those guys that he fought wasn't as good as they were made out to be, because when they had common opponents, him and Terrence Crawford did a lot better, got him out of there quicker. And of course, it was excuses for that. The reason why people say, well, Terrence Crawford hadn't been that dominant, including Michael John White, is because, Terrence Crawford never got a chance to fight Danny Garcia. And we all know why that is. And we all know who interfered with that fight happened. Danny Garcia, call Al Heyman. Danny Garcia should have been saying, I'll take the fight. And he sits up and say, now I might be interested in the fight. It just depends on how I look. Now, Danny Garcia had his chance. He didn't take the fight. He walked away from possibly, when it was all said and done, walking away with 4 or 5, maybe even up to $6 million. So that's on him. And when Terrence Crawford said, dude, you ain't getting no chance against me, putting me in the back burner, talking about call Al Heyman. And like I said, the way those PBC dudes would disrespect Terrence Crawford to a certain degree, I can't blame them. And it's too little, too late. You know, I know behind the scenes, Al Haymon allegedly tried to offer Terrence Crawford some kind of package deal that didn't really include Errol Spence, that had Danny included in it. And then the same thing with Ugas. You don't think Terrence Crawford would have knocked out Ugas? Terrence Crawford would have knocked all those dudes out. And like he said before, when I tried to fight, you guys didn't want to fight me. And then you had all come over to the PBC and all this. After this year, they may not be much of a PBC. So I want to know where all these is now sitting up here, you know, being managers. And it's funny, everybody sat up there was telling Terrence Crawford how much he was worth and how much he should take and take what they give him and all this kind of stuff. But these the same fools that think Frank Martin, the dude who's not even remotely as accomplished as Terrence Crawford, should get 50-50 in a fight versus Shakur Stevenson for a vacant belt. It just goes to show you that these dudes are just fucking idiots and just morons and just people that just put up a bunch of BS videos, because at the end of the day, they Errol Spence fanboys and they PBC apologists, and they're fake pro-black dudes and chicks. The only pro-black when it comes to Errol Spence, which I'm still waiting for people to basically answer the question, you know, all this stuff they just said about Bob Arum, but then, you know, Errol Spence being aligned with Jerry Jones. These dudes ain't said nothing, and just why you can't take these dudes serious. And I'm gonna keep getting at these dudes for their blatant hypocrisy, because that's all these dudes do is exercise a bunch of blatant hypocrisy, and you see it on a regular basis. I mean, these people cannot accept the fact that Terrence Crawford won that fight. Now, they want to sit up here and tell Terrence Crawford what weight class he should fight. Errol Spence said Terrence Crawford won the fight. It was in the contract. Terrence Crawford get to pick the weight. But this is why I know these people ain't that confident in Errol Spence. If Errol Spence was as good as they said he was and made him out to be, should weight even matter? But these clowns always try to look for advantage. You had people talking about that Terrence Crawford was trying to snake and betray Errol Spence. How is he trying to portray Errol Spence? And see, that's the thing. These people can't honor the fact that Terrence Crawford won. It was already stated in the contract, if Terrence Crawford won the fight, he was going to be the A side. He won the fight. He's the undisputed 147 champion, so he's the A side. He get to pick what weight class. But these crybabies can't accept that. So what they have to do is make these conspiracy videos or these shaming videos of Terrence Crawford. I promise you, had Errol Spence won that fight, Terrence Crawford said, "No, we need to run it back. We need to run it back at 147." If Errol Spence was the A side, said, "Hey, now we go run it at 154." People be making videos, Man, Terrence Crawford, he need to honor the contract. He need to honor the contract. He lost, man. He can't sit up there and make no demand. Errol Spence won the fight. He's the A side, but then they can't accept Terrence Crawford being the A side. So they have to make these videos shaming and attacking Terrence Crawford, and that's what they've been doing for the last 5 years. Character assassination. But once again, we all know who was the main culprits of this. But then at the end of the day, when people said stuff directly towards them, a lot of these dudes didn't say nothing. And then a lot of people saw that, and then that's why they started to lose a lot of followers. Why people started to lose respect for them. And they can get mad all they want. I'm stating facts. So it's just been a lot of hypocrisy with this whole Terrence Crawford thing. All it come down to is these people are just Errol Spence fanboys. And that's why these people ride for Frank Martin. They know Frank Martin, what he did wasn't smart. And these people sitting up here patting this man on the back from walking away from $1 million payday. These people actually making it look like he was smart, and then to basically sit up here and now make Shakur Stevenson their latest target. But that's what happens when you listen to these dudes. And I'm gonna keep that's Errol Spence ain't the one saying this, but Errol Spence ain't really telling people to knock this off. Like I said, at the end of the day, I'm gonna just tell you the God honest truth. I think self-consciously, I think Errol Spence was a tad bit intimidated by Terrence Crawford. I think Errol Spence kind of always hinted and gave hints to some of the fans that he wasn't sure and that confident that he could beat Terrence Crawford. I've always thought that. I've always said if they fought, and this is behind the scenes, I've always believed that Terrence Crawford would defeat Errol Spence if they fought. And all this stuff about him being damaged goods. Okay, well, my question is, well, why should they be a rematch? And I'm going to tell you something. For all you people that's sitting up here talking all this, well, let it be at 154 and all this kind of stuff. Now, here's the thing. Now, what happens if Errol Spence gets his ass beat again and gets beat up and dropped and stopped in even quicker, you know what I'm saying, in an even quicker fashion? Then what's your excuse gonna be? Listen, at the end of the day, we all know that these dudes ain't gonna give Terrence Crawford credit no matter what. Because at the end of the day, they just sore losers because they put so much stock in Errol Spence and everything into winning this fight versus Terrence Crawford. If it ever happened, some people really didn't want the fight to happen. You know, to where they just can't accept the fact that basically the propaganda that they was putting out for years just turned out to be a bunch of hot air and they can't accept it. And that's all it come down to. They can't accept what happened. So instead of them just saying, hey, you know, Terrence Crawford was the better man that night, they got to make up all these excuses. They got to come with all these conspiracies and stuff. And like I said, it's really disappointing to hear somebody like Michael Jai White sit up there and blatantly disrespect Terrence Crawford and disrespect Terrence Crawford's dominant victory. At the end of the day, and this is just real talk, I don't want to hear no excuses. Now, there, you know, sometimes you can kind of like make lightweight excuses for people. You can say, well, he wasn't ready for that fight and all this kind of stuff. But this fight was 5 years in the making. You could make an argument, possibly 6, from when Terrence Crawford first moved up to 147. It wasn't like this fight got made overnight. So it took 5 years to make this fight actually happen. To me, should have happened 3 years ago. Should have happened in 2021 or 2022. And then what happened is the wrong guy won. And it got to the point to where some people's whole channel was predicated on this fight happening and Errol Spence winning the fight. And then when they saw how bad Errol Spence got his ass whooped, they didn't know what to do. Some people said they ain't even gonna do boxing content. The same dudes that was talking about they know Terrence Crawford can't beat Errol Spence and all this kind of stuff, being fake, disingenuous niggas and all this stuff. And like I said, like just laughable and shit. Cornballs trying to intimidate people. You know what I'm saying? Which was laughable. Trying to intimidate other people. So, like I said before, that's what this has been all about. And like I said, I'm embarrassed to be a black man and just see my people behaving like this. I'm pretty sure, even though we was a long way from any type of internet being built when Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns fought the first time. I'm pretty sure they had Sugar Ray Leonard fans, and I'm pretty sure they had Thomas Hearns fans. And Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns fought a classic 14-round fight in which Sugar Ray Leonard came out victorious. He stopped Thomas Hearns in the 14th round in a fight that he was losing. Had that been a 12th-round fight, Sugar Ray Leonard would have lost that fight. Thomas Hearns had pretty much had been sort of like lightweight dominating. Well, actually, he was dominating Sugar Ray Leonard. He was well ahead on the scorecards. Going into that fight, I think, going deep into, let's say, I think the 13th round, that's when Sugar Ray Leonard found something. I think back then, you know, you got to remember those were 15-round fights. And I think maybe Thomas Hearns had fatigued a little bit. Thomas Hearns didn't like to really clinch. But then Sugar Ray Leonard, he found something, and you know, he started to land the shots, and then he went for broke in the 14th round, and he got the stoppage. But I think Thomas Hearns, I think going into the 13th, 14th round, I think maybe Thomas Hearns, you make an argument that he had probably won 9 rounds in that fight. So he was well ahead on the scorecards, maybe even 10 rounds. So even if Sugar Ray Leonard would have won, you got people lame, ridiculous, absurd excuse on why Terrence Crawford was so dominant. And like I said before, it's just shameful to see this other black people and other black content creators doing this because they're Errol Spence butt boys. And they just can't accept the fact that they got lost, he got beat the hell up, he got dominated. And then all of a sudden, these people are talking about, well, this a rematch is going to be different. Did y'all not see that voice? I think Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford would be along the lines of Joe Joyce and Zhilei Zhang, just like that. He beat Joe Joyce up even worse in the third fight, got rid of him in like 3 or 4 rounds. I mean, he pretty much slept Joe Joyce. And I think that's how that rematch is going to be. Man got knocked down like 3 times. Man was about to get put to sleep. You know, in the 9th round. And the funny thing is, you had people saying that the stoppage was premature. I mean, Terrence Crawford was beating Errol Spence the hell up. Dominating. But at the end of the day, these people, they can't understand and can't accept reality. And they're just showing that they're not real. They're not who they claim to be. They just can't accept the fact that the better man won. So they got to come up with all these excuses to tear Terrence Crawford down, like what they've been doing the last few years. So I understand why Terrence Crawford don't like to talk to certain black media, because to me, he's justified. Because this whole thing is about caping and capping for Errol Spence, and how much caping and capping you can do for Errol Spence. So what happens in the rematch when Errol Spence probably gets taken out in like 4 rounds? So you guys are running out of conspiracies, and you guys are running out of excuses. And like I said, I've never seen so much hatred for a black man. And like I said, these same fake ass content creators, they don't even have this much hatred and vitriol towards non-black fighters. These people wasn't even that mad when Canelo got popped for PED use. He got popped. And people was like, well, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And that's what I'm saying. And then these will be the same people that have the audacity to try to question somebody's blackness. These dudes is laughable. I'm talking about they're so laughable to where that's about the only thing you can do except laugh at them, because they can't back up none of their so-called conspiracies with facts. It's just delusion to the highest point. Delusion, denial, and just and like I said, some people, they feel like they have to stick with this because they feel like they have a built-in and packed-in audience that really like to listen to this kind of stuff. So they feel like, well, if they start giving Terrence Crawford his props, it's sort of like that's a form of selling out to them, which it ain't. It's just keeping it real and just being a respectful content creator, which a lot of these dudes are not. It's been proven time and time again. I just don't know why these dudes just refuse to accept the fact that Terrence Crawford won the fight. And as I said before, leading up to this fight, I didn't get mad at anybody that said that Terrence Crawford was going to lose to Errol Spence. I wasn't like, oh, you're blocked. Oh, don't come on my channel anymore. I listened to people and I was like, okay, cool. What it looked like me getting mad because somebody is picking somebody other than I'm picking or going another direction. Hell, it looked like. But you sure seen that with Spence fans. If anybody logically tried to explain why Terrence Crawford was going to fight, they got mad. They called him out their names and all that kind of stuff. Because, like I said, or they tried to bully him on chat you know, on chats, you know, basically, you know, podcasts and debate shows and all this stuff. And that's why I didn't do no debate. And like I said, it was this goofy ass nigga that for some reason was trying to think he could intimidate somebody because I don't know. But I don't know what made him go slick shit, like, you know, say little slick shit, and you just ignore them. That's supposed to be some kind of sign of fear. And at the end of the day, it's just called ignoring a clown. But when you start trying to, you know, say other stuff, like you gonna pull up on somebody, good luck with that. Good luck with that. But it's just laughable. It's just laughable. But that's how a lot of them Errol Spence fans are. For some reason, they think they can intimidate you and try to bully you and all this kind of stuff. Like, man, I can't be bullied over those damn Errol Spence because, you know, and then it ain't even about being a Terrence Crawford supporter. It was about supporting both of them. But people were like, no, you had to support Errol Spence. You don't support Errol Spence. Like, man, get out of here, man. Like I said, some of these niggas, like Coach Malachi was saying, is just hella childish. Dudes in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s, like really throwing temper tantrums and pouting. Oh, man, you have to be a diehard Errol Spence fan, man, or we don't like you. You're being mean. All right. Okay. Really? But that's how a lot of these dudes was acting. And I thought it was pathetic, to be honest with you. And I think these conspiracy theories that people have came out with about Terrence Crawford they're just laughable. And now Michael Jai White is just the latest one to like embarrass himself. Like I said, if Errol Spence was that damn in shambles as a fighter and broke up and damaged, then, well, he shouldn't have went through with the fight then. He should have asked for more time. But I mean, he had up to 5 years to make the fight. And all this stuff about, well, you know, Errol Spence ain't the same from the car accident and all this stuff that was happening behind the scenes internally. Well, you know, that's Errol Spence's problem, to be honest with you. not being mean or none of that stuff. That's really his problem. That's not Terrence Crawford's concern. You know, to make sure, you know, Errol Spence is responsible for the company that he keeps. You know, so that's not Terrence Crawford's job to make sure Errol Spence, you know, hang around certain type of people. That's strictly on Errol Spence, but that's just the many conspiracies that you've heard so far. But nevertheless, appreciate you guys being here. About to go work out. So that's it. That's all.